£64.2 million. That is the record-breaking prize pool for the 2026 Wimbledon Championships. It is a staggering amount of modern wealth, all contested on a surface that most of the sporting world left behind in the 19th century: dirt, soil, grass.
Welcome back to Learning with Pratik. If you're new here, I try to increase neuroplasticity by exploring a new topic every day. I do all the reading and researching so you don't have to. Today, in this explainer, we are deconstructing an icon, the Wimbledon Paradox. We'll explore exactly how a tournament completely defined by strict, archaic traditions manages to survive and actually thrive against the ruthless, hyper-optimized economics of modern global sports.
To start, we have to look at the ground itself, the grass court anomaly.
Grass is, quite frankly, a physical outlier in modern tennis. It's one of the rarest surfaces still used professionally today. To understand why, we just have to look at the physics, which Northeastern University's physics department breaks down beautifully. On a standard clay court, you've got high friction. That gritty surface grips the ball, significantly slowing its horizontal speed and converting all that kinetic energy into a high, looping vertical bounce. But grass offers incredibly low friction. The ball absorbs more energy upon impact, totally loses its vertical bounce, and instead skids horizontally at a blistering pace. Players are literally forced to alter their biomechanics. They have to get low to the ground just to make contact. It demands an entirely different, rapid-fire style of play that most modern baseline players just aren't accustomed to for the rest of the year.
And it gets more complicated because grass isn't a static court. It is a living, breathing ecosystem. It's highly sensitive to microscopic changes in temperature and humidity. If the weather's dry, the soil hardens, and the court plays even faster. But during the first week of Wimbledon, when that grass is lush, green, and completely unbattered, well, it becomes incredibly slick. It absorbs the pace, it makes lateral movement and traction notoriously difficult for the athletes. We saw this play out perfectly in the early rounds of the 2025 championships. It was a bloodbath of a week. The unpredictable, slippery nature of the fresh turf led to dozens of top seeds crashing out against unranked opponents. The surface itself essentially becomes an invisible opponent that every single player has to battle.
But the physical surface isn't the only thing rooted in the past. There is also the heavy weight of tradition.
Wimbledon operates as an aesthetic and cultural fortress. It enforces rules that act as a deliberate, heavy counterweight to our loud, fast-evolving, neon-colored modern sports landscape. Think about the mandatory, strict, all-white dress code for the players. That is a rule enforced right down to the color of the soles on their shoes and the trim on their collars. Or the absolute reverent silence demanded from the crowd during a rally, where a single cough echoes like a gunshot. And of course, the enduring rituals, the consumption of millions of portions of strawberries and cream, and fans congregating on the famous Murray Mound. Now, these aren't just quirky habits kept around for the sake of nostalgia. They are the core of a highly guarded brand prestige. They are meticulously maintained to preserve a pristine 19th century atmosphere in a chaotic 21st century world.
Curating that specific atmosphere, though, it comes with a massive price tag.
As Sports Illustrated recently reported, the total prize fund for the 2026 Wimbledon Championships is £64.2 million, the largest in tournament history. This single data point really puts the whole paradox in full view. To protect the amateur, country club origins of the sport, the pristine grass, the immaculate white clothes, the hushed silence, the All England club actually has to operate as a ruthless, highly optimized financial juggernaut behind closed doors. That kind of money doesn't just appear through ticket sales alone. Generating it requires navigating some highly complex, high-stakes economic and geopolitical realities that threaten the tournament every single year. You see, the prestige is the product, and that product requires an astronomical amount of capital to sustain against competing international events that are perfectly willing to outbid London for the world's attention.
Some of these threats are completely invisible to the casual viewer, like the hidden tax threat. The realities threatening this financial juggernaut are often entirely outside the tournament's direct control. The written evidence submitted by the Lawn Tennis Association to the UK Parliament highlights a massive, largely unseen vulnerability: the UK's taxation regime on sports prize money. The LTA points out that the current tax framework is viewed as highly uncompetitive compared to other host nations. So why does this matter? Well, elite international athletes are essentially global, independent contractors. They run their own businesses. Tax considerations heavily influence not just the international sanctioning bodies awarding events, but the individual players deciding where they want to exert their physical toll. If the financial penalty of playing in the UK becomes too punitive, taking a massive percentage of their earnings, even Wimbledon's historic prestige might not be enough to retain the absolute best talent in the world over the long term. At the end of the day, athletes will simply go where the economics make sense.
This tension between old-world tradition and high finance extends right down to the people sitting in the stands.
When it comes to securing a seat at center court, two very different worlds collide. On one side of the scale, you have the deeply romanticized tradition of the queue. Thousands of everyday fans camping out in tents, sometimes for days, just for a democratic chance at a daily ticket. It's beloved, it's accessible, it's community-driven. But on the other side, balancing this out financially, you have debentures. These are complex financial instruments. They are essentially 5-year, high-value corporate hospitality packages that act as an unsecured loan to the club. They are what truly fuels the tournament's underlying economy, funding massive multi-million-pound infrastructure upgrades like the retractable roof. It's a precarious, intricate balancing act between preserving everyday public accessibility and catering to an elite corporate clientele.
To protect this delicate ticketing ecosystem, the LTA is actively pushing for legislative intervention. As they noted in their parliamentary evidence, they are calling for an authorization-based model. The primary goal here is to crack down on sophisticated, unauthorized ticket resale platforms that breach the original terms and conditions. But this isn't just about protecting those highly lucrative corporate debentures from market exploitation. It is fundamentally about protecting everyday consumers in the queue from vastly inflated prices, predatory scalpers, and digital fraud. When unauthorized platforms flood the market, the very fabric of Wimbledon's accessibility is threatened. So by lobbying for these laws, they are desperately trying to preserve both the financial integrity of the high-end hospitality and the equitable, democratic accessibility for the true everyday fans who camp out in the rain just to catch a glimpse of center court.
All of this leaves us with one overarching question. Can a 19th century tradition truly survive the unforgiving pressures of 21st century economics? It is a fascinating balancing act between manicured grass courts and multi-million-pound realities. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you have something particular in mind. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we open a different page. Until then, Pratik out.